Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use the promo code CHGO when you sign up to live your bet life. Luke Stuckmeyer here with Cody Delmendo, and we have Ryan Herrera out in Arizona at the Cubs training facility, Sloan Park. And another beautiful day apparently in Arizona. Look at Ryan. He's got a tan brewing already. He told us he was taking the SPF down there. But, Ryan, we do want to point out we have cacti here as well.
Yeah.
From Studio C. This is the Cubs. We call this Studio C for Cubbies.
Cubs?
Yeah. We've renamed it.
Okay.
Beautiful.
You like that? So Jen Hoyer spoke today, and the first thing that really caught everybody's attention was a bit of an injury update on a few players. We knew David Bodie was going to miss the first half of the season with a shoulder. Now we find out that Adbert Alzolay, right shoulder tightness, starting the season on the injured list. That's not great news. And you add to that Ian Happ had right elbow surgery back in February. He is hoping to be ready for the season opener. For me, the bigger story there, guys, is Alzolay and what this means, because I think all of us were assuming you pencil him in at least your number 4 starter this season. And now it's just another question mark. What are you going to get from him? How serious is this? And who would replace him? It's a big question for the Cubs.
Yeah, Luke. I mean, it wouldn't be such a big deal if he wasn't going to start the year on the injured list. That's what scares me the most. And that and the fact that he's a pitcher. You know, we as Cubs fans know how it goes when it comes to pitchers and injuries, you know, dating back to Pryor, Wood, you know, Darvish is a good example. And it sucks because Alzolay, he showed flashes of being a top-end starter, in my opinion, last year. Of course, there were definitely some bumps in the road. I know his splits against lefties especially is not great. So you're hoping in this offseason he was going to work on some things and come back this year with, improved and everything. And this is just a bump in the road, hopefully, on what we hope is, a solid year for him moving forward. Because, I mean, as far as starting pitchers in the system that the Cubs have homegrown, like, they don't have a lot of them. And he's like he's a main one. And so if he becomes like injury prone, like, it sucks. And so yeah, that's where I'm at right now with that. I just hope that it's not super serious. Hopefully it's, at worst just April, but I mean, that might be pushing it a little bit because as far as I know, like, it's going to be more than the 10 days on the IL,
right? But
they didn't say if it was a month or 2 months or anything like that. So maybe a month is pushing it, but hopefully, mid-April.
I don't know. I mean, all I know is you don't want to hear shoulder for a pitcher.
For sure.
Any kind. Tightness, strain, any of those words, you don't want to hear it. And Ryan, I would assume this caught everybody in Arizona off guard as much as it caught Cubs fans off guard, in that I hadn't heard anything about it. And all of a sudden, you were counting on this guy, and now it has to be a question mark.
Yeah, I don't know that I've even seen Adbert here. Like, maybe he's like in the training rooms or whatever, but I guess that kind of clears up why we haven't seen him, is because he's not doing anything right now. But yeah, that's a tough look, a tough injury for the Cubs. Like you said, Luke, at number 4, at least he's probably going to be in the starting rotation if he's healthy to start the year. I wrote in one of my first articles actually that he should be. I would have picked him as one of the last 2 starters behind Hendricks, Miley, and Stroman. And yeah, I mean that he got moved to the bullpen last year, and that was to help him, like, make sure he gets through the end of the season healthy. He had a couple of different things ailing him last year, and they moved him to the bullpen. He did all right in there, and then he's fully expecting to come back as a starter this year. And then this happens. It's a tough injury, and Jed said it's not going to be a minimum stint on the IL, which means it's not going to be. I think it's 15 games now, actually. So it's not going to be that. So it could be all of April. It could extend into May. Who knows? Hopefully, I know Cubs hope that it's not going to be going all the way into summer, but you never know. But when I say right shoulder, like the way they described it, it's like that could mean a lot of different things. So you don't really know without a clear injury diagnosis. But it's something that's going to have to be monitored moving forward.
Did they say when the injury happened, when he started feeling this? Because you don't want a guy – there are some ways you understand a little bit if a guy throws for the first time when he gets to the Cactus League and in his first game he's a little tight or he just doesn't feel right. But when a guy comes from the off season and he's already going to the injured list, that's when kind of the red flags start to go up for fans in a little bit of panic. Do we know when it happened?
I don't know if they know exactly when it happened. Obviously, they couldn't nail it down during the off season because it was a lockout. So if it happened in December, if it happened in January, Adbert couldn't let them know. And so we haven't gotten a chance to talk to Adbert, so we don't know for sure when it started happening. I don't know that Jed. We got to talk to Carter Hawkins too today. I don't know that either of them know. But obviously it's something that could have just flared up. It's something that could have been progressed over the lockout when no one actually knew. No one could actually talk to each other. So hopefully, we get more clarity on that too. I think, hopefully we get to talk to Adbert soon. Hopefully this week, maybe we'll see. But it would be nice to kind of get a little more clarity on that and find out kind of the timeline of events, of how it started and how he's feeling. But we'll see. Hopefully we get a chance to speak to him.
Cody, that is another one of the fallouts or casualties of this lockout is that if a guy hurts himself in his off-season workouts, you don't have the team physicians, the team trainers, the team doctors, the general manager doesn't know about it. He's just healing himself however he knows best. This could have happened 2 months ago and he hasn't been getting the treatment he should be getting. So, we talk about the lockout being over, but for some guys, it's not over. The impact is still there.
Yeah, it sounds like something we're going to probably have to deal with for maybe even all season. I remember, last year, people were talking, especially for pitchers, didn't pitch nearly as many innings in 2020 as they were going to be prepped to do in 2021. We saw a lot of injuries last year because of that. Now, because of the lockout, I think it's mainly going to affect the young guys who, aren't stable veterans who know what they should be doing every off season and then kind of going through the motions of everything. I mean, even for Alzolay, even though he's been part of the organization for a while, as far as being a major leaguer, it's only been a year or two. So he's still trying to figure out what he needs to do, this and that. Couldn't talk to not players, but coaches and everything. Who knows what he worked on even as
right.
well. And, again, it just sucks to be. What sucks is because he's such a young player with the talent that he has. When he gets hurt, it not only is it a setback for him, but it is obviously a setback for the team. And now, considering the options the Cubs have, it's you don't really have a good piece out there to really step in and replace for right now. And that's what kind of really sucks the most for everyone in general.
Yeah, we put a poll out on our Twitter handle just kind of saying CHGO Cubs. Is it _ Cubs?
It's CHGO _ Cubs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, CHGO _ Cubs. Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter about who could replace him. Is it going to be Steele? Is it going to be somebody else? And I know Jed Hoyer came out today and said he's certainly going to add more players to the roster, and the biggest focus right now is pitching and pitching depth. We said that a week ago before the lockout was ending, that those were two important things, but we didn't know that Alzolay was going to be out for the start of the season. What happens now? What's kind of the buzz around there? I mean, obviously, they've got to go, in my opinion, they have to go find another pitcher.
Yeah. Michael Pineda is still out there. He's one that I feel is at least different from the rest of the rotation. But, I mean, we just don't really know what Jed's doing. There's no, as far as pitching, there's no rumor out there of them being anyone. They got a reliever over the weekend, which we'll talk about. But as far as starters, there hasn't been much talk. And again, I don't want to assume that they're not doing anything because, the whole Stroman thing, that came out of nowhere. No one expected it. So part of me believes that, they're just, being real quiet about it. But it's all right, well, now you really need to do something to at least help. We need depth. Yeah. I even before this injury, I thought the Cubs needed to go get another starter for depth because you just can't rely on all 5 of those starters to give you 30 starts.
Ryan, did Jed address that just kind of out of a strange start of camp this is. You've got all free agency blistering down on him, and he's also got players reporting. And like Alzolay, you're finding out the medicals on guys as they arrive as opposed to knowing before they get to Sloan Park.
Yeah, no, that's basically, Jed said the same. Jed said that. I mean, we got to speak to Ross. He said the same thing. Kyle Hendricks got to talk to on the field. He said the same. Like, it's all just I don't want to say it's a mess, but it's just like all jumbled together. You're trying to do the whole off season as you're also trying to do spring training, and all of that is compacted into 3.5 weeks. So, I mean, like Wade Miley, we didn't see for the first time until today. Guys weren't showing up. They were showing up at different times over the weekend, also showing up maybe in different physical conditions, whether that's guys that are injured, guys that are still getting back into baseball shape, guys that have been back into like as close to baseball shape as they can be. But then you got just around the league, you still got a ton of free agents available and trying to get signed and stuff like that. Trades are still going down. So yeah, I mean, everyone knows it's a crazy time. I don't think they haven't experienced this. A lot of the people in charge haven't experienced what it's like, trying to fit, and no one's ever experienced this, really, trying to fit the entire offseason into 3.5 weeks, which is the same 3.5 weeks that you're putting spring training through. So it's just a weird offseason. Everyone knows it, and everyone's trying to get through it at the same time.
As though, certainly adding more pieces, the big buzz over the weekend was you go into the weekend with the Simmons signing, and there's Twitter hate all over the place for the Cubs, just like saying that's all they're going to do.
Right.
And they haven't done a whole lot. Their other signing is Jesse Chavez. He's 38. So, and we've talked about all the players coming back. So I guess a player is coming back to the Cubs. It's just not,
it's not
one
Rizzo
that we envisioned necessarily. Again, but Chavez is pitching depth. Yeah. So that's not a terrible signing. It's another arm you could count on. He was good in the postseason for the Braves last year. I think it was like 6 1/3 scoreless innings. So he's still got some life left on that.
He was good with the Cubs too in 18. Yeah, honestly, I felt like at the end of 18 he was like the go-to guy.
Yeah.
And so, and if everyone remembers, the Cubs bullpen in 18 was it kind of fell apart at the end of the year. He was one of the guys who stayed together. So you're hoping he brings some of that back. I mean, 38. We don't really know what's going to happen, but
the cutter and sinker still work for him at this age. It's not like he's strictly a fastball guy and the numbers just keep coming down. So he's still usable in the major leagues, obviously. Right. And if a team was willing to pitch him in the postseason, Cubs probably would be willing to pitch him this year when they need to. So there were other big moves. I will say this, guys. One thing that we've looked at is we've named all these big free agents. Whether or not we don't know that the Cubs are going to actually be in and go after it and sign one to the dotted line. But there aren't too many that are really gone. Like a lot of the big names that we've mentioned are all still there if Jed Hoyer wants to do it. Yeah. $145 million away from the luxury tax. The cash is still there if he's being told he can spend it. Like, who's gone? Nelson Cruz?
Nelson Cruz. That's really it.
But, I mean, other than that.
Matt Olson was traded by the
Braves today. Is that the domino effect, right? So Matt Olson gets traded to the Braves. That puts off the alarm that maybe Freddie Freeman is done with the Braves.
Yeah.
Is he down to just the Dodgers and maybe the Yankees or the Cubs, which John Heyman sort of floated out there? He said, the Cubs also make sense, and that's the one we brought up last week. And, I thought it was ludicrous at first, and it still might be ludicrous, but he fits.
Yeah.
He'd be a terrific fit for the Cubs.
Right. He would fill 2 holes. You left-handed power bat, and then a solid mainstay at first base. Nothing against
great leader too.
Oh yeah, and great leader.
Great leader for all the young players.
Nothing against Frank Schwindel. I think Frank Schwindel has a nice spot on this team. Whether it's platooning at some days that Freeman needs off at first base, but also he could be your DH. But Freeman brings so much experience for the young guys. He obviously just won a World Series, so he's a proven winner. And he's a great dude. You're almost filling the Rizzo void with him. And I think it's very clear around the league. Everyone thinks Freeman is a better baseball player than Rizzo. I feel like maybe 3-4 years ago you could have argued between the two, but as of right now, I would say Freeman is definitely better than him. numbers say so at least.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, John Heyman tweeted that, and I know, he just tweets out speculation.
He didn't say they were talking to him. He just said other teams that would be a good fit.
Right.
The Cubs are a good fit for a lot of those free agents. That's
sure.
the thing. They've got so many openings, and they've got the money there and the space under the tax.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of those names are a good fit.
That's why it's kind of like I can understand why some Cubs fans are freaking out online and saying we're not going to do anything, not going to spend or whatever. I get it, because it's like we're sitting here, we have all this free money and everything, and it's like, what are we doing? Are we sending lowball offers or what? I don't know, but they have, if they've ever had any payroll flexibility to go and get a couple guys, it's right now. And if you sign Marcus Stroman and then not make another big move after that, it just doesn't make any sense. So we'll see. I know Freeman has been heavy, or his agent has been in heavy talks with the Dodgers, but the Dodgers payroll is pretty high too. I know they're willing to go over the tax, but I feel like the Cubs could offer more money.
I mean, the opportunity is there. Ryan, did Jed address, some of that, just why it's going so slowly?
He did address that part, but he said that more like they kind of expect that they like the free agent market specifically, like before the lockout, and why it was like, he said it felt like we might actually know what like a signing deadline would look like if for some reason that ever got put into, because you had the lockout deadline, and so that's why there was a huge flurry. But he said he's like I get it. It's like people want to get to camp, players want to get to camp, teams want to get their players into camp, but you also know that when, again, going back to trying to fit the off season into 3.5 weeks while you're doing spring training at the same time, you also understand that players don't want to just sign deals that aren't going to be great for them in the long run. They don't want to just sign a deal and get started. Like they're looking for the right deal for them, and kudos to them for doing that as well. But that's where that shortened off season really kind of that's I think why it feels like the market is going so slow, because you think about the fact that all these teams, they've had this whole off season or these 3 months or whatever, guys should be ready to sign now. It's like, no, they didn't. They've only been talking for like 3-4 days now. They did 99 days. They couldn't speak once. So you really are like, this is like December 4th or 5th right now, really, in reality. But I want to go back to the Freddie Freeman thing. You're talking about maybe it does seem a little far fetched that the Cubs could be in it, but someone asked Jed about being in bringing in more significant additions. He basically said we're having a lot of conversations. You don't assume that any deal's done till the dotted line is signed. Basically paraphrasing that, of course. But he said that there's some of those things that come across might be quote unquote significant. So you never know. Maybe that was him teasing us a little bit, teasing the world. But that's talking about Freddie Freeman. Maybe there's discussions. Maybe they're in those conversations. You never know.
Yeah, I see the chat line here going, and Drive Secures like Cubs are going to be lucky to win 75 games this year. And Robert responds, actually, the Cubs are better than you think. The truth is we don't know, because the roster is not set. If this is the current roster and he doesn't add a big name, then I could see the 75-game argument being held. Yeah. If you start adding significant players, a Correa or a Freddie Freeman or a Kyle Schwarber or any KB, Rizzo, any of those guys, I mean, that changes your outlook a little bit. So, sure. I mean, the one thing about Twitter and chats and blogs and podcasts is we're all just going with the wave.
Yeah.
We're all going with the wave. And at this point, we don't know.
Right.
But I understand the angst that's out there right now, because so far Jesse Chavez has been signed. And that's no disrespect to Jesse Chavez. He's been in the league, more than a dozen years. Mm-hmm. Cubs fans are waiting for the big signing. They got Stroman. Now they've got the peanut butter. Now they want the jelly. They don't want just a peanut butter sandwich. They want both.
Right. Yeah. And rightfully so. We deserve that after the last few years and how last year went. And then on top of that, the division is winnable. I see in the comments right now, apparently Jesse Winker was sent to the Mariners.
Yeah, he's going to the Mariners.
Yeah, and then Suarez is getting moved too. Again, this is all live on YouTube right now. So if anyone has that trade, let us know.
Well, the Reds and Twins are two confusing teams right
Yeah.
now. Like, what's going on with those two
Right.
franchises?
But,
you can be angry as a Cubs fan, but if you're a Twins or Reds fan, you
Right.
really don't know what's going on.
But I mean, that goes to my point, though. The Reds feel like they seem like they're going to be right at the bottom with the Pirates. The Cubs are right there to be in that wild
For the
card
taking,
chase.
it's right there.
Right there. Like, just got to make a few moves here to like give that offense in the lineup just some more stability, some with some proven guys who have done it. Like, on top of what we got coming up in AAA this year, like guys like Brennan Davis, especially, like, this team could open some eyes if they just make a few more moves. And of course, yes, we've yet to see it. But you know, hopefully Jed's out there and he's just not giving us lip service.
I see Ferris's comment, and he says the Cubs are rebuilding, not reloading. Big difference. And the only thing that makes that questionable is then why would you sign Stroman to the deal?
Exactly.
If you're not reloading and you're totally rebuilding, then Stroman doesn't make as much sense as it does the other way.
Exactly. And like, again, I've been preaching that to the choir, man. Like, Stroman, he's 30 years old? He's not going to.
Unless Stroman's just to sell tickets.
Yeah, yeah. And if Stroman's like, I just want to get my money, then, I mean, it's 5 years. He can opt out, I think, after the third year, whatever. Like, I get it. Like, I get it. And someone tried to tell me on Twitter the other day that but the Cubs could move Stroman at the deadline if they wanted to. It's like, I get thinking that just based off being hurt the last year, but I just don't see it. The Cubs know they have been getting like murdered online from the fan base. So many people dropping season tickets, stuff like that. It would just not be good for business to do that. You know what I mean?
I mean, they have done in past. There is the rebuilding plan of bring guys in that are successful and will be hot commodities at the trade deadline.
But they're
not usually of the level of player that Marcus Stroman is. They're usually a guy that's, Kimbrel worked out, but that's not originally why they signed him that way.
Right. The Cubs were in a different spot, though, whenever they signed him. When you're talking about, the Paul Mahalems or the Scott Feldmans of the world, those were like on 1-year deals.
They're shorter deals. They're not big money players. They're not. Stroman was the best pitcher on the free agent market. Some could argue.
Some can argue for sure.
So it'll be interesting. Cody, what else? Was there any kind of? Did you sense any of that feeling out there, whether it's in the media room or just fans buzzing around, that people are kind of like, when is this going to happen? Like, I mean, to me, it just feels like I tweeted today, like, is today the day?
Is today?
I don't know. Is the day ever coming? Is the day today? Is it tomorrow? I would assume it's the same way down there.
Yeah. For me, the only thing that still keeps me optimistic is that, again, like you said, the big names are still out there. And Matt Olson was probably the biggest name that we've seen. I do think the Suarez and Winker deal, George threw it in the comments, says the Mariners are finalizing an agreement on a deal that would bring in Jesse Winker from the Reds. Seattle is also acquiring Suarez as well. I mean, that's a pretty big trade. Those are two really good offensive players. I'm actually kind of glad they're not in the NL Central now.
Jokic says, Jed said they're retooling. They're not rebuilding or reloading. So there's the other.
What's the difference?
I don't know.
But anyway, like, we haven't seen a lot of big moves yet. Again, the Olsen trade today was a big one. I do think this Mariners and Reds trade is pretty big. Even the ones the Twins have made are pretty important as well. The Yankees getting Donaldson, I thought, was interesting from the Twins. But as far as free agent signings, we just haven't seen any big ones yet. And I think what really surprised me the most is the fact that Olsen got traded first before Freeman even signed.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
You would think it'd be the other way around.
Right, yeah. And, like...
Well, you have more leverage if you're making that trade before it happens.
For sure. And to me, like, I kind of mentioned it earlier when we were prepping for the show, like, I always thought Freeman was going to end his career with the Braves, kind of like how we thought Rizzo was going to end his career with the Cubs. And he just won a World Series, and the Braves are just like, thanks for your service. We're not going to pay you. And it's like, it's crazy. So I'm not saying it's justifiable that the Cubs traded Rizzo and got those prospects or anything, but I am saying that I guess it is a little bit more normalized in today's age.
Yeah. Well, I bet you Carlos Correa assumed he was going to play his whole career with the Astros, or most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's won a World Series with them, and maybe he does go back to Houston. That was a little bit of the buzz today, but maybe not. He might be moving on pretty early in his career too.
For sure. And I mean, that the whole Correa thing, I mean, yesterday, Ken Rosenthal wrote a column, not saying that it's going to happen, but just like estimating or putting out the idea that maybe he'd just sign a 1-year deal because, him and his agent haven't had a lot of time to be able to go out and actually market themselves for, the kind of deal they're looking for because of the lockout. So I would not be surprised if he signs a 1-year deal. I obviously wouldn't be surprised if he signs like a 5 or 6 year deal back with Houston with a opt-out after this year.
Right.
So, but I feel like you could do the same, like the Cubs could do the exact same thing.
He's still there. I'm just saying he's still on the market.
Yeah.
He's still out there. Ryan, what about the Ian Happ injury? Obviously, they think he's going to be okay. But, the outfield's a big question mark for the Cubs, too. We don't know where guys are going to end up. We don't know if Frazier's going to be in left. We don't know where Happ's going to play. How does this impact that situation?
Well, I guess maybe it's Ian Happ himself. I was a little confused on the way Jets. I think he said that Ian is confident that he'll be ready to go by opening day. Now, sometimes the players are a little more on the optimistic side of things, so it's hard to completely trust that. But I know Jet had said that he had the just a little cleaning out of the elbow, a little loose body kind of thing. It wasn't like a deep surgery or anything like that. It was just kind of touching things up and stuff. So he had that in February, and I don't think he said that it wasn't affecting Ian hitting as far as he knew. The throwing was a little more of a work in progress, but he's back to like kind of throwing and stuff right now. We've seen him maybe like throwing a little bit in the outfield. So I guess he's on track. We'll see for sure when opening day comes if he's ready to go. Again, that I think the confidence comes from Ian being maybe a little overconfident on how quickly he'll heal, but that I guess we're going to run with right now that he'll be good to go on opening day and probably left field. I think Jed also said that he might be off the field a little more often at the beginning, so maybe like de-aging or something, kind of make sure that elbow is not taking too much of a toll. But I guess right now the thought is that he should be good to go on opening day.
One question I would have for Ian Happ is, and I don't know if he's a pretty honest guy. I don't know if you get the answer, but I wonder how many of these guys that you're seeing start the season injured or, they had surgery and we didn't know about it because there was no contact between the two sides. But if you're Ian Happ, are you waiting to have that surgery because it just doesn't feel quite right? And you assume, we might miss the first month of the season anyway, so there's no reason to rush into surgery. Then all of a sudden the lockout ends and you're closer to missing some games than you thought you were. I don't know what that situation is, but it's just such a bizarre setup right now, you don't know anything that happened in the offseason because unless a player wants to go on their Instagram or Twitter and tell you they had surgery,
right,
you have no idea.
The interesting thing about Ian Happ is he has his own podcast and they release a show every week. And I
never saw him in a sling.
Right. I will admit I haven't listened to every episode over the offseason, but I feel like someone would have put out online or on Twitter or something saying that Ian Happ said on his podcast that he had an elbow injury or something like that. So sounds like he just kept it to himself.
I feel bad for Ian Happ in that this is kind of a prove-it season for him, I believe. He's had some good halves of it. He's had a good half of a season and a bad half of a season. Yeah. He's made adjustments, then he's had to make more adjustments. And I could have painted a picture. It would have been very aggressive, but I could have painted a picture where I saw the Cubs. Heck, they were walking away from everybody last year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been shocked after the first half of the season if you would have said, Ian Happ's not going to be back with the Cubs.
Yeah.
Then he played better. So this is, he's got to certainly want to go out and prove it. A great guy, a great person to have on the team. But he's getting to the point in his career where he's going to have to really show he's one of those elite outfielders if that's what he's going to become.
I agree. last year, I think first half he had an OPS definitely under 700. I know that.
Oh, he
much.
struggled. He struggled.
He struggled mightily. Got hot late August, all of September. You know, and those flashes, you look at him and you're like, this guy can.
Yeah.
He can put your team on.
That's
the
the hard part. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You watch him and you go, you know what? You can build with this guy as a key piece.
Right. He's a first round pick. The Cubs saw something. And I mean, his rookie season, we thought he was going to be, you know, a cornerstone for, you know, foreseeable future. And it's just, you know, injuries, then, you know, down year 2018, spent 2019 basically in AAA until he got called up later. And then 2020 was actually like their best hitter for those 60 games. And then last year, just kind of, like I said, first half was not very good. And then second half, you know, salvaged the rest of the season. So there's just not a lot of consistency in there.
Right.
And that's what you need to see.
I see Brandon saying on the chat that Jock to the Braves. Is that a done deal, Jock Peterson to the Braves?
Not confirmed. He's retweeting rumors about it. He's playing into it all, but you never know with him.
Anyways, Ian Happ, I think I'd like to see him on the team. I think one way you can judge as a Cubs fan the value of a player around the league is just to go to your buddies across town, and if you say to them, oh, I heard Ian Happ's going to be the new second baseman for the White Sox, for instance.
Yeah.
If they're excited and Cubs fans are angry, then maybe he's a little more value. If you're mad that he's going to play for the other team in town or play for the Cardinals,
right,
maybe you still have something there. I still think there's something to get out of Ian Happ, and I still think he has the potential to be a really good, consistent player in Major League Baseball. He's been a really good player, but the consistency hasn't been there yet.
He's too good of a guy to like have this kind of run that he's on. Like I feel like he's due for some luck. He's due for, you know, like a full season where you really see like what he is as a player. It's just, again, a lot of it also, you know, those earlier years, he was fighting for time with Albert Almora for 18 and 19. And, you know, finally, I thought last year in this, even 2020, I felt like it was like his center field was like his position for the taking. And then he really struggled. And then the Cubs moved him to like corner outfield, mainly left field last year in the second half.
Right.
And that's when the bat showed up. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe he's just more comfortable out in left field, allowed him to, you know, think about his offense a little bit more. I don't know. I'm just spitballing about it, but sometimes those things happen. If you're not comfortable where you're playing defense, it might affect your offense. And so,
but Ryan, if it is that he's more comfortable in left field, then Frazier's also a guy you're looking at in left field.
Right.
And if you're platooning, that's another difficult situation for guys to like prove themselves and really take a, you know, that's one of the things about having a bunch of guys that are in this similar role is if you platoon guys, it's tough for somebody to take the role too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's, you know, a lot of people wanted, or just another example, a lot of people wanted Mike Hermosillo last year to get a lot more playing time, and you know we can just platoon him and stuff like that with Hayward because they wanted Hayward. Hayward stayed in the lineup, but at the same time, like that would have been tough, I think, for Hermosillo to try to like prove himself in whatever was the month or two that he was up, you know, playing once every other day, or but you know only facing lefties, he's playing less often than Hayward would be. So just in that, you know, the platoon style, we talk about it and try to see fits like that. We've talked about like, oh, if Rizzo were to come back to the Cubs, he could platoon with Frank Schwindel. But stuff like that, it does get tough unless you have like full buy-in from the players, and you know that's something that you'd have to see about.
We want to get to our first break here, and we've got more to talk about with the free agents. We're going to talk about some former Cubs here in a second, and they're all still on the market, and they all still fit to possible openings on this current Cubs team. We'll get to that in just a minute here.
So yeah, Luke, you won your first bet.
I did. Oh,
you won your first bet. He won his first bet, his very first bet.
Did you notice that I've been sitting like this? It's because my wallet's a little uneven now. I got all those.
Oh my goodness, that's good. But he did it on PointsBet.
I did.
And PointsBet is the best way to support us, CHGO. And the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app. and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you'll receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker room. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we'll help you. Remember that PointsBet is your home for live in-game betting. They even have a new exclusive feature, live NBA same-game parlay. I got a same-game parlay for the Bulls-Kings tonight. Talked about it on the Bet Show today. Go check it out. Luke, you should check that out.
I might look into that.
For the first time ever, build the perfect live same-game parlay only with PointsBet. Combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. You can even boost your live same-game parlays. And now, online sign-up is available in Illinois. It's a beautiful thing. It's something that I miss so much. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. Signing up with the fastest sportsbook is now easier than ever, so you can start living your bet life in seconds. Use code CHGO to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. So what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
We are starting our second full week here at CHGO.
They let us come back.
They got the thing up. It's running. It's doing well. If you're just checking us out, we're podcasts every day about all your favorite teams. In fact, on the other side of this wall, the White Sox guys are doing their podcast in Studio A. So we got them going on all the time, live podcasts every single day, live post-game shows for the teams that are currently playing games, premium written content for the members at allchgo.com. That's why Ryan and Vinny Duber are out in Arizona right now. And guys, here's the deal. It's here. It's the most exciting time of the year. Merch Madness is here. Get your dope merch. Merch Madness.
Get that sick drip.
Get the sick drip. We've got all kinds of dope merch for all the teams. You get a free shirt when you become a member. We've got the members-only Discord. That's the CHGO Lounge, so do not hesitate. Make sure you watch us and like us and give us the 5-star reviews, and we'll just keep giving you the content,
Exactly.
dope merch, and everything else you want.
Any update on the velvet smoking robes yet?
No update on the velvet smoking robes. The guys that are in charge in Denver are working on that, but we want to make sure it's the right type of velvet. You don't want the cheap knockoff velvet, the kind that,
We need to get 2
Wears.
of them. Me and Luke can both wear them during pre and post game this year.
Think Hugh Hefner,
Yeah.
only the 2 of us in velvet robes.
Oh,
That's disgusting.
You guys might have missed it. But Ferris said he loves the show. Thank you, Ferris. We love.
thank you,
people that
Ferris.
love us,
Ferris.
bro. We love people.
Ferris
that
is
love
in
us.
he's in the comments every day, every
Every
show.
day.
It feels like it at least. So is Rachel. She said come through,
always there.
Grandpa Stucky.
What am I coming through with? Trying to get players or trying to come in with the velvet robes? That's the question.
It might be both at this point.
Right now,
we're
the only
putting
thing I can deliver is dope merch.
We're putting the Cubs morale on. It's up to us to keep all Cubs fans perked and positive, I guess.
I was, with the selection show, I was thinking yesterday, with all the dope merch we have, we could have done a snake draft for our dope merch. I'd take this shirt. I'd take this shirt.
Yeah.
This is a number 1 seed. Go ahead. We have to come up with some sort of bracket.
I like that.
Anybody got any ideas for bracket we could do this week? I'd like to do a selection show and then play it out the tournament.
I'd like maybe we do
Foods of Chicago.
yeah, or foods if we're relating it to Cubs.
Cubs
we did
players head to head like that.
Foods of the ballpark, maybe.
Oh yeah, did you see how Joey perked up on that?
foods of the ballpark, yeah. Or we could do a stadium, like a ballpark stadium bracket.
Yeah, shoot us some ideas if you got one, and we'll try to come up with something in the next couple of days. Wilson Contreras stopped by for a quick chat as the Cubs get ready to go here. He's one of the last pieces left of the 2016 championship team. We're going to play a quick clip that Ryan got for us at Sloan Park. Let's take a listen real quick.
It's exciting. Every time that we had to come to spring training, it's exciting for everybody, especially for me, being around this long. And, I'm just excited to be here with the guys.
How do you think it's going to be without Rizzo, without Brian?
They're not here. They're in their teams. Rizzo is still free agent. Javi signed with Detroit. We know that the fans and everybody miss them, but we have to keep going. They're already over. That's something that we had to stay in the past, and we have to leave the present. So they're not here. I'm looking forward to have fun with my guys.
Do you hope what they did, bringing in Stroman, things like that before the lockout, means there could be more coming here?
Yeah, to us, the Stroman was a good sign. He's a veteran guy. He's a guy that's willing to help even the younger guys, and we're gonna get along really good. He's a really nice guy, competitive. He can be the best out there, but I'm looking forward to have fun with him too.
Now, before we get to Wilson Contreras, really quickly, I want to point out that you saw Dan Roan, the mayor of Chicago sports media, in the background there. One of the greatest guys. Dan Roan, in case Cubs fans don't know this, gets the sickest setup in Arizona every year for spring training. Most media members go down there and some get an Airbnb room or a hotel room for a little bit. Dan Roan goes down there with Steve Scher, his photographer. They get an Airbnb with a pool every year. And every year on GN, they jump into the pool at the end of spring training. And it's always the sickest house. And they put a WGN live truck in the driveway. So you can't miss it. Just in a regular neighborhood in Mesa. But everybody that's in the media, usually, Ryan, you got to get in on this. Everybody usually filters over at least one night to the WGN Palace where Roan and Scher have things going. They've got a big barbecue. They had a tiki bar one year in their backyard. Dan Roan knows how to get it done.
Ryan,
all right,
gotta,
sidebar.
You gotta get in on that.
Yeah, so Ryan, that's a bit of advice. Find Dan Roan and say, hey, I heard
you got this barbecue.
Stuckey said you might have a tiki bar.
I'm gonna start making some calls.
So one more year of arbitration for Wilson Contreras. Ryan, you wrote about it at allchgo.com. Good article. And, he doesn't seem angry by the situation, but he says no talks. Been no talks. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, so obviously they couldn't talk all the last 99 days, obviously. And right now, he said that they haven't had any new talks and since Thursday. So, that's only been 3 or 4 days. And then Jed kind of explained, he's like, we're still trying to fill out the team. We're trying to plug in the holes in the roster. We're still trying to add pitching. We're still trying to do all this stuff. So again, you're bringing spring training. You're bringing guys here at the same time as you're trying to, fill out the entire team and do all this stuff. So I get it. I mean, I like you said, Wilson doesn't seem like upset by it. I know he said he wants to get, if they're going to extend him and they're going to have those talks, he either wants that to happen before the season or after the season. He said he doesn't feel comfortable maybe doing that, having those talks and during the season when he's, trying to win baseball games. But yeah, I mean, so you still got 3 weeks. So those talks could happen at any time. Obviously, the arbitration, those numbers have to be sent in on the 22nd, I believe, which could also kickstart the contract stuff. But yeah, so at this point, I guess nothing's kind of been talked about, but still got time. Still got some time.
I mean, I would think Wilson Contreras, if he ever does hit the market, would draw a pretty penny. It's not easy to find a catcher in the big leagues. The Cubs have themselves one. I would hope, again, I've said this before, I hope that whenever Jed gets this team set up, that he takes care of Wilson Contreras, because I want a piece of the 2016 team other than just Kyle Hendricks to carry over into this next group. I just don't. I'm baffled. I never would have guessed in 2016 if you told me that Hendricks and Contreras would be the only ones left, really.
Yeah.
And that Hendricks would be the only guy out of that core to sign an extension. It's stunning. So the opportunity seems like it's there. Are you confused as to why Kyle Hendricks is the only guy that signed out of the core? I mean, obviously it's a two-way street.
No love for Hayward?
I don't want to blame just one side because that's a two-way street.
No love for Hayward?
No, but he didn't sign an extension.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hayward
Just
didn't
messing
sign an
with you.
extension.
Just
As
messing
far as
with you.
taking the young core guys and signing them to another deal, an extension, Kyle Hendricks is the one that took him up on it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you tell me that was going to happen in 2016, I would have laughed at you. I would have pointed and laughed, probably would have made fun of you online. But here we are, and I'm with you. I agree. It's a two-way street, and those things with Baez, Brian and Rizzo didn't work out, and currently they're still trying to find a contract, except for Baez, he found one. But in my opinion, Wilson Contreras, your catcher, he is like the catcher position is so valuable in terms of not only can you not find catchers of his talent very often, but Miguel Amaya, the guy that some Cubs fans were like, oh, you can move Contreras because Amaya is going to come up and he'll be cheaper, blah, blah, blah. Well, he's going to have Tommy John, and he ain't going to be ready for another year and a half, probably. And, you just don't know with that. With Contreras, I mean, he's still mid-20s, obviously on the other side of 25 now, but he brings everything from offense and defense to your team. And sure, with the DH now, it allows the Cubs to rest him a little bit more.
Yeah,
for sure.
A lot more if they want to.
And
he could play first too.
Right. And I feel like the biggest problem that the Cubs have had over the last few years for him is finding him more rest time. He leads the league in innings caught the last 3 years. I don't know if it's 3 years, but definitely in recent years, he has led the league in innings caught at least 2 of those 3 years at least. And now with the DH, it allows them to, rest him a little bit, and that will save his bat for later in the year. So I again, with how valuable that position is and how, the fans love him and the leadership and the passion he brings because he loves being a Cub.
That's it. Who I think he is? He's Joakim Noah to the Bulls.
Yes.
It's a comparison. He's the heartbeat of the team. He's not Derrick Rose, but he's the energy guy. He's the glue guy. He's the passion guy.
He's the guy
that gets the fans going, that gets the team going. And when you need a spark on a cold, rainy day at Wrigley Field when they're playing the Pirates and things aren't going well, Wilson Contreras is that guy.
Yeah.
And I think you got to be careful about playing around with the contract and extensions a little bit, because if he does leave, I think you'll find out very quickly how much you miss him.
Oh, for sure. And again, it's not like the Cubs have a catcher that can come in and just give you anywhere close to that.
No.
That production. Yan Gomes is going to be a nice backup, no doubt.
And it's no disrespect to him. You like that, Ryan? He's the Joakim Noah of the Cubs.
Yeah, no, we've talked about it before. He's the heart and soul of the team. And you said that about Joakim Noah a decade ago. And it rings true for Wilson Contreras too. That's who he is. He's emotional, obviously the emotional leader of the team. But I get the feeling that he's at peace with whatever happens. He'll be at peace with kind of whatever happens. He said it himself yesterday, getting the free agency after coming up in the system as a third baseman, moving to catcher, working so hard to improve there. Making the All-Star team and stuff. So he said, hitting free agency would be like a dream come true, or a team wanting to trade for him means they see that he's doing, they see good things in him that he did. He's doing his job, and so I think a free agency or a trade or something that also kind of nails down the fact to him that he's good, that he's a good guy, he's a good catcher, he's a good player in the big leagues, and he clearly wants to stay too. He's never said he wants to leave. And that's why he loves, he loves Chicago, he loves the Cubs, he loves the fans, and he's that emotional leader. But he's at peace. He's gonna be at peace with that, whatever happens from what he said. That's what it sounds like, and I believe it. And so we'll see what happens.
Because of what happened at the deadline last year, he just
shell shock.
Yeah, he's probably just at the point where it's if they're willing to trade those guys who helped win the World Series, he's not gonna. I guess he's just not going to let it bother him in a way that it's going to.
But he's made clear he wants to be here.
Yeah.
He wants to be here. I noticed that Ferris was commenting on the chat about, some of the other former Cubs that are still out there. Why has it been quiet on Rizzo and Bryant? There's been apparently intense activity I saw on one Twitter handle on Schwarber. John Heyman says, this one bothered me a little bit. I'll tell you why. John Heyman said the Yankees see Anthony Rizzo as a realistic, good first base option now and will try to make that work, thinking that they might be out on the Freddie Freeman deal.
Right.
The reason that bothers me is what team thinks of him as a realistic, good first base option? Like, could that be any more of a downer?
Yeah.
If that's the way the Yankees are describing him to John Heyman?
Yeah.
This is the captain of the 2016 World Series championship team. It's a total disrespect. Anthony Rizzo is more than like a realistic option that's pretty good.
Right. He basically stated it's like, though, this would be a consolation prize. And again, I think Freddie Freeman is a better baseball player than Anthony Rizzo, but you're still...
I do too, but that's like...
You're still getting
sort
a great...
Yeah, it's sort of saying like, well, they'll settle for Rizzo.
Right. Like, you're not settling for Anthony Rizzo if Freddie Freeman goes to the Dodgers. Like, Anthony Rizzo will bring you great defense. He'll give you at least 140 games a year, and he brings leadership and passion and all that.
Who else are you going to get, New York?
Yeah.
Come on.
He hit a home in that wild card game. He hit a home run. Like, I mean, I don't know. It
bothers me a little bit.
It bothers me too. I'm with you.
It bothers me a little bit.
We're riled up a little bit. Ryan, tell me you're bothered by it.
Hey, you know what? John, who knows what John Heyman's hearing? Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Like, he would be a good consolation prize, obviously. Anthony Rizzo. Is he more than that? Is he more than that? Yes. Is he more than that? Yes. But yeah, that's you can't go wrong signing Anthony Rizzo, obviously.
Right.
No, and I'm not blaming John Heyman for the way he described it, because to me, I read that as that's the way the Yankees have described the situation, or somebody or his agent has described it as that's what the Yankees think. So I'm not going to put those words necessarily to John Heyman, but somebody's feeling that way, and whoever you are, you're wrong. Ken Rosenthal saying the Rockies are heavy on Chris Bryant. Interesting, because they were going to draft him at one point.
Yeah. And it's also, I tweeted this from my personal account earlier. It's so annoying to me that they would be even having a conversation with Chris Bryant after trading Nolan Arenado and sending $50 million. Well, it bothers me too, because it didn't help us. They sent him to the Cardinals, who now we have to deal with Nolan Arenado for 20 games a year. So I don't understand what the Rockies are doing. I'm going to have to contact the DMVR guys and like have them explain it to me like I'm 5 years old, because I just don't understand why you would trade Nolan Arenado after you give him a massive extension. You trade him after 1 year, and it was the 2020 season that you traded him after, and then now you're intensifying talks with Chris Bryant, who for most of his career has been at the top tier of third baseman. I know Chris Bryant's more of an outfielder now, but for most of his career, people were talking about who's the best third baseman in the National League. It was Chris Bryant and Nolan Arenado.
Yes.
And now they're on talks on Chris Bryant. Like, it bothers me. It honestly angers me.
If you're a Rockies fan, you would have to be perplexed. Like, what?
Like, what are we doing?
You wouldn't pay Arenado, but now you're going to pay similar to money to Chris Bryant. This is
the most mad I've seen Cody on a show. This is the most mad I've seen Cody in
it's the new room.
A week and a half.
It's the new room we're in. He's very tense in here. If you enjoy CHGO, one way to help us continue to grow is to download the PointsBet app. Use the code CHGO when you sign up. Not only do you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000, but if you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership, which of course unlocks all of our web content, and you get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO Locker. Merch Madness. If you have any questions, email pointsbet@allchgo.com and we'll help you out. And in case you missed it, online sign-up in Illinois available. You can actually download the PointsBet app right now, register your account from start to finish, all from your phone. You'll be signing up the fastest sports book, easier than ever, so start living your bet life in seconds. What are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet, live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. All right, so...
All right. Hey, let me interrupt you. Before you do the third segment, I'm going to take off.
Okay.
I'll take off. Got some good stuff coming. I got to get some writing done. I got some good stuff coming to allchgo.com. Make sure you subscribe. You read my stuff. You can read Vinny's. Vinny's also down here in Arizona, so he's got some stuff going. But make sure you subscribe to All CHGO. get that membership going. Make sure you come follow us. And Luke, Cody, take care. Talk to you guys tomorrow. I'll have some more stuff to report. So
thank you,
ready.
Ryan. I bet you he just saw Dan Roan walk by and he's like, I'm out of here. I got to get to Dan Roan and find out about that tiki bar and pool they got over there.
That's what I'd be doing if I was in his position.
I don't blame him. Yeah. 2 segments is enough. You're in the sunshine, man. Get to the pool.
Right.
So we talked about, the free agent guys that are out there. At nauseum, we've talked about it. Like they're available. Everybody's still there except for Nelson Cruz pretty much. And then there's the other option, trades, and the idea floated out on social media today. Cubs Twitter's floating stuff out there. Padres could be trade partners.
Yeah.
Because they've got guys that they are actively shopping with big deals. And maybe that's how you get a prospect back. The 2 names that were mentioned, Eric Hosmer and Will Myers. Could you see that happening?
Well, so if no one has realized, I'm the one who's been running the CHGO_Cubs account.
Which he's just using as a way to see John Heyman's tweets now.
Right.
It is.
It's why it's so emotional, too.
Yeah, that too. That's why it's emotional, and also it's how I see John Heyman's tweets, because he blocked me on my personal account. But yesterday there was I think it was Mark Feinstein who tweeted something about how the Padres were in intense talks about trying to move Hosmer and Will Myers. And it becomes an interesting conversation for the Cubs, because they are in a position where they could take on those contracts, or one of them, and then, change the scenery. You never know. Will Myers, Eric Hosmer, they both have had success in the past, but they just haven't had a lot of success with the Padres of late. So I think Hosmer's owed, I know it's at least $20 million this year, but then
$20 million, yeah.
He has 3 more years left on his contract with 3 more years left on his contract. Through 2025, but only $13 million AAV the next 3 years each after this coming season. Still a lot of money, and he hasn't put up the type of numbers to even be worth the $13 million after 2022. So
if you could get somebody
out
of their loaded farm system, and that was the trade-off for taking Hosmer and putting him at first base for a few years, $13 million doesn't totally eat away at you. 2025 is a long time.
Right.
So you'd have to get the right prospect.
Right, exactly. And, again, change of scenery, you never know. Maybe Hosmer can, get back to his form that he was with the Royals, or at least halfway there.
Yeah.
His the advanced numbers are this guy beats the ball into the ground, and his home run totals have really dipped in the last couple of years. So that's kind of the issue. But you're looking for more power.
I'm more likely to go try and get Will Myers. If you could divide them up,
right?
I'd rather get a lesser prospect for Myers, stick him in the outfield for a year, and if you're eating $20 million, which you can afford to eat this year,
yeah.
If you're not going to sign some other big name, but you can get back a guy that is, a top 20 prospect in their organization, I'd look into it.
Yeah, and Myers,
Jed knows that
he'll be a free agent after this coming season. So I think there's a club option. So I guess it's technically 1 year with a club option after 2022. So, if you can get a top 20 prospect with him and then use him in the outfield, he definitely has played better than Hosmer, so that's why you would get a lesser prospect. So, but again,
because it's a much shorter deal,
right?
You don't have to worry about it. Right. If you don't want to, you don't have to worry about it.
It's just a very interesting conversation. I feel like the Cubs should be in. I know you're not going to get I think it's C.J. Abrams. You're not going to get him now because Tatis is going to be out a couple months because of motorcycle accident apparently. But they still have a pretty good farm system, as we have learned. I mean, we're pretty high on Owen Casey and Reggie Preciado, who we got back for Yu Darvish, plus the 2 other prospects.
Good farm system that the Cubs know well.
Yes.
Because of the Darvish trade and Jed's relationship to the organization before coming here.
Right. They also got Rowan Wick from there, too. So
right. So
again, there's no actual talks, but it is I would say that it's interesting, and I feel like the Cubs should at least, find out how much are the Padres really trying to move these guys, because the Cubs have all this payroll flexibility. They could help them out as long as they send something back. You know what I mean?
I was sitting here during that conversation. I just kept thinking, do you think Ryan took off because he saw Roan, or does he know something we don't know and he couldn't tell us yet, but there's something going on in Arizona?
He did get out of here really fast.
That was real quick that he took off. So maybe something's finally happening and he got to look off to the side. That's what I'm hoping for. All right, real quick before we go. Today is Pie Day, 314, 3.14. What is your favorite pie?
Ooh, it's tough. I'm a big pumpkin pie guy, and around Thanksgiving, holiday season, big on that.
I go apple. Thanksgiving, I go apple pie.
Really? Okay. I also like
I wasn't impressed with that.
You can't go wrong with a little cherry pie either.
Yeah. Cherry pie. Yeah. There's a place in Wisconsin that I like to go. Al Johnson's. I don't like bananas. They make a banana cream pie. Blow your mind. Best pie you've ever had. And I don't like bananas.
Wow.
So that's up there. I like a good grasshopper pie. A little mint pie, especially around, St. Patrick's Day. A little mint pie of some kind. No? Wow, getting a lot of ugly looks here from Joey.
I've never had it.
You've never had a grasshopper pie?
Never even heard of it.
You've never heard of grasshopper pie?
No. Is that something they serve at the Mariners Stadium?
No. All right. This podcast is over. I can't deal with these guys. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We're back again on Tuesday. However, the plan is 4:30 tomorrow. An hour later, if that changes, we will let you know. Follow us on Twitter.
You can follow me.
Well, you
can follow me on Twitter at Cody_CHGO.
At Luke Stuckmeyer. Or you can follow our CHGO Cubs handle, which is also you.
Yes. On Twitter, CHGO_Cubs. I am so sorry for this ending.
You know what? Just go try some grasshopper pie and everything will be better tomorrow.